Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the coastal Gaslink pipeline has been fined again, a whale rescue recently took place in northern BC waters, and a Vancouver grocery store is attracting customers with lower prices.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. The controversial Coastal Gaslink pipeline was once again fined for environmental non-compliance. CFTK's Jaylene Matthews has the details.
The highly contested Coastal Gaslink pipeline has been fined $590,000 for non-compliance with its environmental assessment certificate. This isn't the first time. In September 2023, TC Energy, the pipeline's constructor, was fined $346,000 for erosion and sediment control issues after providing false and misleading information in inspection records. Coastal Gaslink responded to that 2023 fine, saying the false information was an unintentional and regrettable error. Prior to that, TC Energy was fined 3 other times as well over the course of construction for failing to adequately control erosion and sediment. As a result of the previous concerns, the Environmental Office says they prioritized the Coastal Gaslink project for compliance monitoring, with nearly 100 inspections carried out along the pipeline, leading to 59 warnings and 30 orders, including 13 stop work orders. With the latest penalties, this makes approximately $1.3 million in fines to the company. As the latest fine, the Environmental Assessment Office issued 10 penalties totaling $590,000 to Coastal Gaslink on September 11th. Coastal Gaslink has said in response that as soon as the issues were identified in the latest inspection, action was taken to correct it, and that since fall 2023, they have been compliant with the EAO on erosion and sediment control. Although the pipeline is now complete, Coastal Gaslink said in a statement they are currently focused on safely completing cleanup, reclamation, and permanent erosion and sediment control installation activities along the route, which is on track to be completed in the fall. For CFTK News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
A crew from the Fisheries Department spent about 4 days or so off of the northern BC coast freeing a humpback whale that was completely entangled with bits of fishing gear, ropes, and buoys. Paul Cottrell, a marine mammal coordinator with the department, said that the whale was in very poor shape when they found it, with ropes inside and wrapped around its mouth, preventing it from eating in any way. He also went on to say that there's been an increase in these types of entanglements off of BC's coast, which he is suspecting is related to an influx of humpback whales coming to the area. A Vancouver grocery store aimed at keeping the prices at the till affordable said it's seeing more and more customers shop their shelves. CTV's Abigail Turner spoke with someone who's admitted it's only getting harder to keep up with the cost of living.
Matt Lottridge has been shopping at this grocery store for 5 years.
My bank account definitely appreciates not having to fork over as much money on groceries because it's just getting more expensive.
Sticker shock that's felt at many traditional supermarkets, but not at Quest.
The Quest client can come in on any given day and see prices that reflect 50 to 70% less of what they might find on a traditional grocery store shelf.
The nonprofit offers a grocery shopping experience for people living on low income. It's seen an increase in customers in the past 5 years, with about 150 new clients referred every day.
If I didn't have this place to come to, I'd be a lot more strapped for cash generally.
3,000 to 4,000 people are shopping weekly at one of the 5 Quest stores in Metro Vancouver.
All British Columbians are feeling the impact of the rising cost of groceries. If you are a Quest client, you're not only feeling that cost impact, but the cost of housing.
According to Stats Canada, most households spend 40% of their total annual income on groceries. More than 50% of Quest customers make less than $24,000 per year.
They can't afford groceries on their income, and their pensions, like they don't have much left after their pension.
Meat, dairy, and produce are the quickest items to get put into the carts of customers.
I guarantee that my bank account would not look as good as it does now if I wasn't at a place like this.
Quest is urging the province to create a food security strategy as the organization expects to continue to see the demand for cheaper food grow. Abigail Turner, CTV News, Vancouver.
Coming up next, a Mission family got an unfortunate extra treat with their blueberries recently. Welcome back. The BC government is implementing the recommendations of an external review of the Forensic Psychiatric Hospital after one of its patients allegedly stabbed 3 people in Vancouver while on unescorted leave. A statement from the Health Ministry said there are 7 recommendations in the review, including that a team consisting of a psychiatrist, nurse, and social worker be assigned to each patient while at the hospital to improve communication about care and to better assess patient risk when they are released to the community. The review also suggests implementing more structured policies to improve the decision-making process for granting leave, and that a GPS tracking system for those granted be the privilege to be tested. Blair Donnelly is accused of attacking 3 people during a Chinatown festival last year, shortly after he was granted temporary leave from the hospital. A family in Mission say they made a startling discovery in a bag of frozen blueberries. Buried near the bottom were 4 razor blades, and the family says they're speaking out to spread the word. CTV sent John Alexander with the details.
The Lang family is a big fan of this brand of frozen fruit.
These are the blueberries that we buy all the time.
And on Saturday, while making a smoothie, Sean and Jamie Lang say their 11-year-old daughter found what she thought was a prize or a toy.
She stops and she says, "Daddy, look at this, I found little envelopes."
She wanted to play with it, but Dad insisted he get a closer look.
And I open up the little envelopes, and they are old school classic razor blades.
So obviously my mind went to the worst of she could have swallowed a little shard of razor.
The Langs say they bought the Kirkland brand frozen blueberries from the Costco in Abbotsford last month.
So I think a blender would have pulverized the razors and she wouldn't have known and would have just drank it. And so it feels like something really horrible could have happened.
And you know for sure that she pulled them out of that bag.
I watched her pull it out of the bag.
Yeah.
Mom says she called her local Costco and the attendant took her seriously and told her to bring the bag back for a refund. Her husband says he contacted the warehouse manager, who said he would look into the matter. He also tried to reach the company through social media.
And when you think about when you make smoothies or food in general, you don't dump the food in and then inspect it, you just dump it in. You just trust that the food that you're using is safe.
CTV News has reached out to Costco repeatedly over 2 days, and we are waiting to hear back. The Langs say nobody was hurt and they are not considering legal action. They just want others to be aware and want the company to find out how this happened. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Mission.
Isabella Zavarisi now reports on a case where a new Westminster building seems to have some illegal events occurring at it, according to a pair of men who live there.
It was the loud construction and string of Amazon packages that tipped off a group of tenants at this new Westminster building.
So I went and investigated.
Long-term resident Alan Hill says in June he found a 1-bedroom unit below him being converted into a 3-bedroom apartment at 435 Ash Street.
You can't deny when they're putting up temporary doors, accordion-style doors.
Video shows a wall blocking part of the kitchen and each room complete with big screen TVs installed.
They didn't give me a large screen TV.
Hill and Keith Cordell Robinson showed us an ad posted on Facebook Marketplace, which included the building address, showing a compartmentalized space renting as a private room.
I got scared. I got nervous. First thing I thought of was, oh my God, what about my security in the building?
Robinson called the city of New Westminster to alert them. Soon after, both tenants say they heard construction downstairs again.
And that's when I realized that the suite below me now was being disassembled by the same guy.
Photos provided to CTV News show the unit being assembled at the end of June and then being taken down in July. The city says an inspection was conducted July 22nd and that staff found no evidence of it being converted. No enforcement action was taken.
I don't think they took it seriously at all. If this is legal, then they're the ones that determine if it's legal. As a resident, I think it's 100% totally illegal.
The building is run by Canadian Apartment Properties REIT. Capri didn't respond to our request for an interview, but tells CTV that units must comply with all safety standards.
It's another situation that sort of calls out for better regulation, at least allow government to keep track of what's happening in the rental housing market.
Tenants say they worry this will happen again.
And this is our community, these are our homes, and we need to advocate for the citizens of New Westminster.
The tenants want to see more enforcement from municipal and provincial governments. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, New Westminster.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast will be dealing with the chance of showers at a low of 11 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area should see periods of rain and a low down at 10 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District is expected to get a chance of showers, but their low will drop to 4 degrees. On the North Coast, the upcoming week will essentially be all rain and clouds, plus the high should move from 15 to 13 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, the week for them will also contain clouds and rain, with possibly a little sun at the end of the week, while the high bounces from 13 to 16 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the next week or so will potentially see a little more sun, but still mostly rain and clouds as the high shifts between 14 and 19 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is a special travel advisory: maintenance, utility work, bridge maintenance, construction work, crack sealing, paving operations, and the Usk Ferry is out of service due to the low river level. Highway 37 has some maintenance and roadside brushing. 37A has road maintenance work, and there is some construction work on the Nishka Highway. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, a ski hill is putting out quite a generous offer. Welcome back. Pass holders at One North Shore Ski Hill are being offered a season of free skiing if they can provide housing for staff coming in from other countries. Mount Seymour management is trying to prevent overseas hires from quitting when they realize just how difficult it is to find a place to live here. CTV's Shannon Patterson has the story.
While Mount Seymour is encased in fog and snowfall is still months away,
we are now in full hiring mode. If you can imagine, it's a bit like hiring an army during the winter. So we're running interviews, we're reading resumes, we are recruiting as fast as we can for the season.
And that recruiting extends well beyond Metro Vancouver.
Because there aren't enough locals who want to work at a ski resort.
About half of Mount Seymour's 500 seasonal staff come from overseas, countries like Australia, Germany, and the UK. When they get here, they'll likely struggle to find affordable housing on the North Shore. So on Tuesday, Mount Seymour sent this offer to its season pass holders.
We're basically saying, do you have a basement suite? Do you have a second property? Do you have a suitable space where you could potentially have some of our staff for the season?
If they have housing that can be matched to an out-of-country Mount Seymour employee, they'll get their family season ski pass for free. How much is that worth?
That's worth a couple of $1,000s.
I'm sure these are reasonable tenants. They're going to leave pretty quickly, so you don't suffer from rent control. So pretty sweet deal if you can find an Australian who's going to be around for 6 months.
Canada has an agreement that allows young Australians to work in the country for up to a year. But with the federal government cutting back on student visas during the housing crisis, that program could face more scrutiny.
You know, if we say no Australians working on our ski runs, you know, maybe no swim instructors down in Australia for young Canadians. So any kind of trade restriction, of course, you worry about reciprocation.
For now, Mount Seymour can hire from outside Canada. It hopes at least 100 of this year's overseas recruits will find temporary homes with season pass holders. And it's predicting a great winter.
Specifically, this year is a La Nina, and La Nina means colder and wetter than normal. So it sucks for Vancouver, but it's great for the local ski hills. So we're really excited.
Shannon Patterson, CTV News, North Vancouver.
Next up is the story of a young woman who not long ago suffered a stroke and why it further proves the need for better health care throughout most of Canada, especially in rural areas. CTV's Adrian Gabriel reports.
Looking out over the glistening water of Lake Simcoe, Robin Peniel is still processing what she was forced to face just 2 weeks ago.
It was terrifying. I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't form the words.
On August 28th, while home alone, Peniel felt a blistering pain in the back of her head. Little did she know, she was having a stroke. Struggling to speak, she called her mother.
She just kept saying, "Mom," like that. And I said, "Have you fallen? Have you had an accident?" And then she just said, "Mom," again. And I said, "Do you want me to call an ambulance?" Whispering and stuttering, yeah.
In Peniel's hometown, 2 hours north of Toronto, the future of healthcare is top of mind. The local Bracebridge Hospital doesn't have a stroke unit. The closest is 30 minutes north in Huntsville. That's where paramedics thankfully rushed the 23-year-old, where the decision was made to airlift her to Toronto. It's a series of decisions that proved critical.
I really don't know what could have happened to me.
It's a harrowing story that both mother and daughter believe is proof in point of the necessity of a strong medical system in rural Canadian communities.
I don't think you realise how lucky you are until something like that happens.
Community hospitals across remote parts of Canada are facing challenges from staffing to funding. Last month in the BC interior, there were 26 emergency room closures over a 31-day period. Last year, the ER in this rural Ontario hospital was permanently closed. Now the hospitals in both Bracebridge and Huntsville are undergoing a redevelopment proposal. More than 50 doctors signed this open letter in July, saying the plan could negatively impact patient care for generations.
We've listened, we've listened, and we continue to listen.
While the number of acute hospital beds in Bracebridge will be declining, officials say there will be an increase in capacity at the 2 facilities to deal with critical mass.
Healthcare is changing, and the way that we need to respond to those needs is changing.
For Robin Peniel, she's witnessed firsthand the critical importance of a robust healthcare system for all.
Robin, what was it like to come home?
To be able to come home so fast and, be with my loved ones and speak to them. It means the world to me that I'm still here and I'm okay.
The Canadian Association of Emergency Physicians say that closures and crowding are a national problem plaguing every province. Last year, there were more than 860 temporary ER shutdowns here in Ontario alone. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is up 3/100ths of a cent. The price of gold is up $30.10. Oil is down 32 cents. Natural gas is down 5 cents. Aluminum is up $45. In Toronto, the TSX is up 93.51 points. The Venture Index is up 9.83. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 297.01. And NASDAQ is up 114.30. Still ahead, an Alberta family had quite the scary encounter with a wild animal. Welcome back. There was a chilling encounter with a cougar for an Alberta family after the big feline killed the family's barn cat. And as CTV's Tyson Fedor reports, the aftermath was caught on camera from the family kitchen. And a warning, some of the images in this story may be distressing.
This fearless cougar made its presence felt at the Lowe's family property just southwest of the city Tuesday afternoon. Wildlife officers told them it's maybe 2 years old. The family barn cat, Oreo, was dead on the ground behind the bloodied cougar before being whisked away between the large feline's teeth.
I've never seen anything like that before, just its lifeless body dangling there, not expecting it at all. I'm shielding my daughter from it because it's obviously not something I want her to see.
The terrifying ordeal brought Alberta Fish and Wildlife officers back to her property on Wednesday just off 22X towards Pritis. Lowe says officers were asking permission from neighbors to set traps in the area and lure the big cat out. One is set in her chicken coop.
Everyone's driving their kids to the bus stops, which are literally at the top of our driveways. Like, the bus comes right to our houses. So everyone's being definitely extra cautious.
For Karen McMullen, she has lived in the country all her life. She's seen cougars around here before, but this latest encounter has left her a little distressed.
I've never seen a cougar go to a back door and act like he did. I really haven't.
She says the cat was detected on motion sensors on her property.
He started at my patio and then went around, and then he went in the paddock with my horses.
Alberta Fish and Wildlife say in a statement officers are monitoring the situation and evaluating next steps. One expert believes there is only one possible outcome.
You got to catch that cat, and we're not in the habit of relocating cougars. If a cougar is doing this kind of stuff, it's going to be euthanized. Cougars make a living killing things. That's how they get by. But, you know, it's a little unusual to have them coming up and looking into decks and showing that aggressive type behavior on people.
But if the first encounter was not enough for the Lowes, the cat returned, peering into the family window around 9 p.m. Tuesday. Lowe began recording, eventually scaring it off into the darkness.
Heard some banging, and I thought it was my son being silly in his bedroom. But my daughter was beside me, my older daughter, and she saw the cougar at the window, and it had been banging its head.
Tyson Fedor, CTV News, Foothills County.
Correctional Service Canada says a member of the staff was assaulted at Kent Maximum Security Institution. The federal agency says the staff member was taken to an outside hospital to be treated and evaluated. The attacker has been identified, and RCMP officers are joining the facility's in-house staff in investigating the incident. Correctional Service Canada says safety of staff and the public remains the highest priority for the agency, and a review will take place to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. The City of Victoria says it has received nearly $13 million from the province to upgrade 2 of its parks. City Council approved $8.3 million for the Royal Athletic Park to update its washrooms, seating, lighting, and accessibility. The city says construction on the park will be completed in late 2027. It also said Council approved the remaining $4.5 million for its Centennial Square revitalization project that will go towards adding new green spaces, a splash pad, more trees, and lighting to that park by 2026. That's all of our news for now. From all of us here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.